Today is November 24th, 2025. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life. This is Pro-Life Week. Well, this is the week of Thanksgiving, and even though I am a Detroit Lions fan and will be watching the game this Thursday, that is not the reason we celebrate Thanksgiving. Let's make Thanksgiving a little bit more spiritual. I mean, we are thanking God for the many blessings that He's given to us individually as well as corporately as a nation. So as you're feasting on that turkey and that cranberry relish, remember to thank God for His many blessings. He has been so faithful to us Americans and to me personally. He just has been very faithful. Okay, few items, and then I got some closing thoughts. The North Dakota Supreme Court on Friday, just a few days ago, restored a near total ban on abortions, delivering a major victory for pro-life advocates who hail the decision as a critical step in safeguarding unborn children across the state. Now remember, North Dakota is a very conservative state, so that's going in, we know that. A 3-2 ruling, even on the Supreme Court, state Supreme Court, it was a divided decision, 3-2. The High Court found that the state's pro-life law banning abortions, enacted by the legislature in 2023, so the law is a post-Dobbs law, remains constitutional, rejecting a lower court's earlier decision to strike down the law. So good news from North Dakota. Number 2, a violent woman who attacked an influencer. Oh, let me back up. A few months ago, a pro-life woman was in Manhattan, and she was going to engage in conversation with a pro-abortion woman, and the pro-abort, she just slugged her right in the face and gave her some stitches, took her to the hospital. She's got medical bills. So, okay. A violent woman, that was the attacker, who attacked a pro-life woman during an on-the-street interview in New York City, has been sued after the local district attorney in Manhattan basically dropped the ball on the whole case. And who is the district attorney? Alvin Bragg, the guy who tried to crucify Donald Trump. Bragg aggravated the situation by allowing his office to miss a key filing deadline in what could have been a case charging Rivers, that's the woman with assault. The complaint was filed in Bronx Supreme Court and explains the victim had to go to the emergency room for stitches after the attack, recorded on video, and had more than $3,000 in medical bills. So she's going to sue this lady for the violent attack. Lawyers at the Thomas More Society representing this woman further charge Rivers, that's the assailant, knowingly, willfully, and maliciously continued to mock Savannah, what's her last name, and Anteo, in reviews online in order to further inflict emotional distress. So we'll see how this plays out, but it's caught on video. The woman just slugs the pro-life gal in the face and causes stitches in a hospital visit. Okay. Following last month's letter from 51 U.S. senators to the Food and Drug Administration and the Department of Health and Human Services, calling to reinstate common sense safeguards on abortion drugs, 175 U.S. representatives, led by Representative Chris Smith of New Jersey, strong pro-lifer for 40 years, and pharmacist Representative Diana Harshbarger of Tennessee, sent a letter demanding answers from the Secretary Robert F. Kennedy and Commissioner Marty McCary. The FDA's recent approval of the new generic version of the abortion drug comes even as Joe Biden's COVID-era mail-order abortion policy remains inextricably in effect, putting women and unborn children at risk and undermining state pro-life laws. The letter from Congress urges the FDA to swiftly reinstate in-person doctor visits and end Biden's mail order policy while the administration's promised safety review is underway. Okay. And let's hope that happens. These telemedicine online consultations for the abortion pill is just rife with problems. Okay. I'm going to finish today's little program with what I call my first principles. Kind of like what I believe in, what I stand for, and I'm hoping that at least most or all of these ideas or concepts can be shared with many of you, especially you who are pro-life. Okay, my first principle is that we are created in the image of God. I mean, God is the author of life. He gives life, and in his wisdom, he takes life. Not in the sense of murder. I'm not saying that. But, what have we said? That we believe in life from conception to natural death. And natural death is God's determining factor to when our lives end. And then there's a judgment. Okay, but he's the giver of life, and we're created in his image. Number 2, life begins at conception. Does not begin at implantation or at 6 weeks or 10 weeks or 12 weeks or viability. Life begins at conception. It's a scientific fact. Number 3, DNA. And that's obviously an abbreviation for a long word that is hard for me to even pronounce. The basic building block of life, maybe better the blueprint for life. It determines our hair color, our eye color, our sex. We're going to be left-handed or right-handed. I mean, it factors everything about us, how tall we're going to be. And it determines these are determining factors that make you. No one else will share those exact DNA chromosomes. You do not share your DNA with mom. Yours is yours alone. You are a separate and unique individual, a one-of-a-kind individual that deserves protection. Okay, number 4. When a woman sees her OBGYN, she finds out she's expecting, she checks in with her doctor. The truth is that the doctor has 2 patients, mother and the baby in her womb. There's this growing life in her womb. The doctor cares for the pregnant mom, and he cares for the unborn baby. And somewhere there's been a dereliction of duty, of medical ethics, where somehow some doctors have concluded that the baby in the womb is not the second patient, but is the intruder that needs to be removed. Where did that come from? That the baby is the intruder, is the violator, the trespasser on a woman's bodily autonomy, her reproductive rights. No. The doctor has 2 patients, mother and baby. Okay, number 5. A doctor can detect a fetus at 6 weeks using an ultrasound. Obviously, the pregnancy can be detected sooner, but he or she can see that baby on an ultrasound at 6 weeks. And the doctor can monitor the baby's progress. Now, obviously, he's monitoring the woman's health, but he's also monitoring the baby's development. And the OBGYN, he or she can determine or detect if there's some kind of an abnormality or a problem that needs to be addressed. You know, if a mom finds out that the baby is going to have Down syndrome, you know, we're talking about a woman that wants the baby, and the baby's going to have special needs. It's nice to know in advance that this may be a possibility that this little one is going to have special needs and will need special care. So mom and dad have some time up front to prepare for that possibility. Now, sometimes the doctor is wrong and the baby is totally normal and healthy and everything. But it's good to know that the doctor sees, oh, okay, there may be a problem here, and we're going to be monitoring this. Maybe it's not going to develop, but maybe it is. So anyway, ultrasound, the window to the womb. Okay, number 6. And this is kind of detailed here. The pro-abortion people always bring up the hard cases: rape, incest, the life or health of the mother. So let's suppose, just for the sake of argument, let's suppose that we accept the idea that abortion could be permitted, legal abortion permitted for the hard cases: rape, incest, life of the mother. So let's look at the numbers. There have been about 64 million abortions since Roe v. Wade. 64 million. If we take 3%, because that's roughly 2 to 3% is the number of pregnancies that are aborted because of the hard cases. The other 97% are aborted on healthy babies. So we're looking at just that 3%, the hard cases. So if we take 3% and say, okay, we're going to make those legal, 1,920,000 abortions would have been performed since 1973 if just for the hard cases. That's roughly 38,000 abortions per year. 38,000 compared to what it is now, like 3,500 a day. Because it's over a million abortions again because of chemical abortions. So 38,000. Okay. So here's my question. Do you think the pro-abortion industry would support abortion only for the hard cases? Well, we all know the answer. Of course not. The focus on the hard cases is only academic in an effort to trap pro-lifers, primarily politicians. The pro-abortion mentality is abortion on demand, no reason, healthy mom, healthy fetus, but inconvenient. There may be circumstances, very often they are. Women are too young or too immature. She's poor and has no way to provide for the baby. The father or the boyfriend will not support the child. There may be physical abuse. Those are all valid reasons not to want to raise a child. But these are hardships that people face in life, and they are not reasons to kill the baby. They may be reasons not to be a mom, but there is always the option to adopt, to have that child adopted into a family, a loving family. But the pro-abortion people, are the pro-abortion people willing to compromise on just the hard cases? Are we willing to compromise on the hard cases? I know that I am not willing to negotiate with human lives. The circumstances of a child's conception is no reason to give that child the death penalty. All lives are sacred. All lives are precious, and all lives need to be, especially those in the womb, need protection, legally and morally. With that, I'll let you go, and I'll see you next time.